Hi everyone, welcome to our first Three Gems IG Live show. I am Edwina Kulego. I'm so excited about this show. It has been something that I have been thinking about for a long time, and imposter syndrome kicked in, procrastination kicked in, and I couldn't do it. So it took a while for me to realize that this was a great idea, and I ran it by a couple of close friends, and they all encouraged me to do it. So here we are. It's the first show. We have an amazing guest with us, Mr. Nick Wooster. I see you all joining in. Hey, Lizette. Hey, Stefan. Hey, Shama. Friends and family. Hey, it's so nice to see all of you. Thank you for the support. This is going to be a great conversation. Before I bring Nick in, I just wanted to share the inspiration behind Three Gems. Hey, BB. I think we all desire to connect, and I always love hearing personal stories from friends, even from strangers, through podcasts, through reading books. And so I thought this would be a great way to just connect. It's simple. It's not going to take more than 15 minutes, connecting with a longtime friend, learning from his experience, sharing it with all of you, and giving us inspiration for the rest of the week. So I'm excited. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. I'm going to bring Nick in, and we're going to get into Three Gems. So let me see where he is, because I saw you. Hi, everybody. Hi, Samia. Hi, Makini. Joanna from Portugal. Hello. There he is.
Hi, Edwina.
Hi, Nick. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited. A little nervous, but super excited to be speaking with you today.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's the little screen and feeling like you're talking to yourself. Um, you know how I do. But I'm really excited. Thank you for saying yes. Nick, you didn't ask any questions. You didn't say, well, what is it about? Why are you doing it? You just said, yes, I'll support you. I'm there. So thank you.
Of course. No, I'm happy to do it. And it's amazing to see you.
Likewise, it's been really long. I can't remember the last time I saw you. I think it was at PD Womo, but I feel like we cross paths a lot when we travel.
We have, but you're right. I mean, well, I think the past year and a half has kind of fucked everybody up in terms of who they see, how they see them. But yeah, I miss, you were so pivotal to a time in my life, and it really changed my life, that period of time. And so, it's great to see you and see you all these years later. And I'm so happy for your success.
Thank you. Likewise, Nick. You were such a part of my early stages getting into fashion, into trade shows. I think it was 2012 when we worked together.
It was 2011, actually.
Oh, 2011, see? Even longer ago. And I just remember being so anxious, so excited for my career right out of college, meeting you, Andrew Pollard, Nancy Berger, the whole team. We did an incredible installation that I think is one of the most pivotal moments of my career, and you were a part of it, and you were always so nice to me. You were this iconic persona, right? You saw Nick coming, you're like, oh my God, here he is. And then you're expecting celebrity. And then when you meet Nick, you're like, wow, you've always been so nice, so supportive of me, my career, always asking me how I'm doing, and not just asking, but how I'm really doing. And I always have been so grateful for that connection.
Well, thank you. And I feel the same about you. I mean, yeah, I just saw that somebody was asking, like, what are they talking about? I mean, why don't you start with your questions, and I'll probably be able to answer that question.
Absolutely. I'm going to kick it off. This is going to be short and sweet. That's the point of it. We want you guys to get inspired for the week. So yeah, I'm going to kick it off with the first one. Nick, at what point in your life did you experience a significant shift or a significant change?
So in January of 2010, I became the men's fashion director of Neiman Marcus and Bergdorf Goodman. And it was, you know, after sort of an 8-year period of a dry spell in my career, my 40s were really a rough period for me. And one of the things that I thought was happening at that time was that, you know, I'd aged out, that in fact you know, I had had sort of a big career before that, and I sort of couldn't get arrested, you know, at the age of 42. And so I thought, okay, it's a young person's game. And so fast forward to 2009, 2010, when I interviewed for this job, which I thought there's no way I'm going to get it. But at 50 years old, I became the men's fashion director, and which was, you know, a sort of dream job. But the rub to the whole thing was that a year and a half into it, I got fired. And I've been fired many times, especially in sobriety, which is like fucked up. I mean,
Yes.
But at any rate, I'd been fired, and I really was beside myself because I didn't know what I was going to do. The next morning, I woke up, and there were 3 emails in my inbox, one of which was from Andrew about, you know, we have an idea for you. And it was, you know, and I actually had 3 projects right out of the box. Like, I had not worked for a couple of years in my early 40s and, you know, couldn't get arrested. And here I was, fired at 50 from a dream job, and thought I would never work again. And so one of those projects was to work with you, Nancy, and Andrew at the Project trade show in Las Vegas. So that's what we're talking about for the person that asked.
Wow. And so that was your shift.
Well, because what had happened was that I, first of all, thought that, you know, there would be no life for me at, you know, past 40. And so at 50, to become sort of this person who there was a lot of opportunity. I mean, other backstory is that, you know, I sort of became who anybody around here would know me by at that point. And it was so baffling to me because I couldn't understand why at 50, you know, this was happening. And so it was a confluence of events, and certainly a lot of luck and good fortune. But, you know, my life changed because I understood that I could work on my own. And I took another job in between. But then the last 8 years, I've really been doing this thing that I never thought that someone like me could do, which is work for myself. So that's where the shift came. And, you know, to be 61 now, I mean, that was really 10 years ago that happened. But, you know, to see this shift is shocking because in AA, we have an expression, don't quit before the miracle. And I really believe that that is my experience.
Wow. It's so powerful that you said, you know, your power was in understanding that you could work for yourself.
Right.
And from the outside looking in, I'm thinking, you know, Nick could do anything. Like you know, he could do the corporate stuff. He could do projects on his own, collaborations. And so I don't think I would ever even think that just from an outside perspective. But the fact that you were kind of nervous about where you were going and then had these amazing opportunities come your way after a challenge is awesome.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, believe me, my life is, I mean, riddled with insecurity and what have you. I guess that's one of the benefits of age, or in my case, sobriety. I, you know, definitely am less, you know, anxiety prone and insecure as I used to be. But in my 20s, 30s, and early 40s, it was bad.
Yeah. Wow. And what, I know I said I wasn't going to do follow-up questions, but what made you decide, you know what, I'm taking the sobriety journey, enough is enough?
Well, I think, you know, that is the question you had asked about a vow. Like, so the vow that I've kept, you know, that I've made to myself is, well, it's really 2 things. One is that I don't drink or do drugs. And that was 26 years ago that I made that vow. And I have, you know, fortunately, gratefully stayed on that path. I don't know why that is true for me. It's just that I know that I would be dead, or worse, I would be probably incapacitated in some way, that I would still be alive, but wouldn't even have probably whatever it is that I have today. And I understood that, like, okay, dying wasn't going to be my path, that I was going to have to live. So that's why when I just said, you know, I would rather do this clean and sober, and it took me 4 years to get to that point. It was not like an easy, like, wake up one day, snap fingers, and it worked out. The second part is about, you know, smoking cigarettes. I mean, that was the thing that I started doing.
Yes.
I recognized that I needed to give up drugs and alcohol. And hi, Sharifa.
Hi, Sharifa.
And it took me a long time to give that up, and I finally did 6 years ago. So
congrats.
Thank you.
I did not know that.
Well, yeah, because you knew that I was a huge smoker. I mean,
I did.
And I used it as such a way to separate myself from others, you know, like get out of situations, to, you know, be closed off. And although in hindsight, I mean, I think that I love smoking, but, you know, the reality is it's so freeing to not be a smoker. And that's just my experience. I mean, you know, I see people doing it and I think, ooh, it looks kind of good.
Right.
But I just choose not to do it. And so, again, I can't tell you why that's true. I can just tell you that is true.
Incredible. I mean, having self-control is super powerful, and knowing that you can say yes to say no to something and stand by it is.
It's, you know, I believe it's something higher. There's a higher power involved than my self-control. But yes, because I struggle with food, you know, like with eating, and I mean, meaning that I can be really diligent about the gym, but if I don't fire on the cylinder of nutrition, it just, and believe me, it's not a perfect journey, and I'm on another journey right now, but like it takes work, and it takes being conscious, and sometimes I'd rather pull the covers up over my head, but right now I'm choosing to do that.
Excellent. I love it. Thank you, Nick. All right. Question number 2, even though you already answered number 3, when are you your truest self? When is Nick Nick?
You know, the thing is, I don't know when I've ever not been me, meaning that I think that that's like a...
Wow.
Well, no, I take that back.
He's taking it back, guys. Okay.
That's not true.
Rewind.
I became my truest self when I came out, because that was the thing that, you know, for 22 years, I did not, I was not honest with who I am. And it was only when I came out, and listen, it was, again, like, it seemed really traumatic and painful to me at the time. Of course, it was 1983, so it was different than it is today.
Absolutely.
And I was, you know, I graduated from college and I just moved to New York. But it was really in the 3rd month of moving to New York that I actually did the S training, the Werner Erhard thing that later became the Forum. And, you know, I have a lot of problems with things like that, but I also am super grateful because it saved me a lot of brain damage, and probably a lot of other people some brain damage by, you know, that's what I got out of it, was that I understood that, like, A, I was gay, and B, I was perfectly fine.
Yes.
And, you know, that is when I became my true. And so since that time, and even as a kid, I just always kind of felt like I beat to my own drum or something. You know, I didn't give a fuck, which is kind of why I've dressed the way that I've dressed. It's like, I'm insecure in a lot of areas, but getting dressed is not one of them. And I've also said a lot of things that I probably have regretted later because I just speak my mind. But that's what I mean.
That's what I love about you.
Well, I'm probably in the culture of cancel. I'm probably, you know, a ripe someone to, you know, because God knows I could say something, but
you can. We're all human. We all say things. We all do it.
We do, but but again, I think that that's another age thing, is that, like, I don't know. It's not that I don't give a fuck, because I do. I give a fuck a lot, but I also,
I give a fuck a lot. That's a quote. Guys, write this down for me. It's too good.
But you know, one of the things I learned in rehab, which is really one of the most brilliant things I ever heard, and I'd never heard it before until you know, sitting for 30 days in a rehab, and that was, what you think of me is none of my business.
Preach. Preach. I am learning that now that I'm like inching mid-30s. I'm like, yeah, that's your problem, not mine. I love that.
It's kind of true.
It is true. And when you realize that, I feel like it's a whole new world.
Exactly. It makes life so much easier. I mean, life is hard. Life has its issues, you know. It's like it's not easy. Some moments are easier than others, and we definitely, you know, all have our moments, good and bad.
That's right.
But whatever we perceive to be good and bad. Actually, some of the worst things that have happened in my life have taught me some of the best lessons, and some of the hardest moments that I thought I would never get through, I look back on now and think, wow, that was so amazing. But, you know, everybody's different, and believe me, I understand what it's like to, you know, be broke, or, you know, feel alone, or just, you know, feel really shitty. So I'm not trying to minimize that, but time is a great healer. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Wow. The gems. I thought I was getting 3, but I feel like we've had about 8, maybe 10. So thank you, Nick. We talked about a vow that you've made to yourself. Is there another one that you can share with us, since you answered it so early on? That's the 3rd question, guys.
That I am, well, okay. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm happy being single. How's that? That's the only vow I'm interested in taking, is being single.
Nick is happy being single, guys and girls. I love it. I love it. Nick, thank you so much. This is exactly what I wanted this to be. It's us connecting, having a conversations like we were at a restaurant or walking through the park and just talking about life. This is exactly what I imagined and more. And so, one, I want to thank you so much for saying yes, for being honest. I think you've inspired so many. We're going to be posting this and sharing it. And before we go, I do want a recommendation on a book that has impacted your life, because we are starting a book club.
Well, you know, I thought a lot about that. I am the worst with, you know, I like to read books. I read a lot of nonfiction. I mean, I've read, you know, every self-help book it seems that there is, and I'm not going to name one of those. But what's that?
The cliche books.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a few of them behind me.
And you know, some of them are really great. I mean, The Alchemist is a really great book, but that's not the one. So there are 2 books, and it just, so really the book that changed my life and that I love more than any other book is Fran Leibowiz's Metropolitan Life. And I read that book in 1979. I believe it was a year after it came out, and it was a paperback. But it really sort of opened my eyes to New York, and when I knew when I was in the fraternity at the University of Kansas that this is where I needed to be. And it's funny, and it's true, and it holds up. And the other book that I think is super inspiring, and I don't know why, it just kind of came to me because I read something today that about a month or so ago was the 10-year anniversary of Steve Jobs' death. But Walter Isaacson's biography of Steve Jobs is actually an amazing book as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
I am definitely going to share that with everyone. We're going to start a book club. There'll be a link to get the book as well. Nick, thank you so much. I really appreciate this time, this moment.
Thank you so much, too.
Have a wonderful evening. Thank you all, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. This was awesome. Our very first show. And check back with us next Tuesday for another incredible guest. Thanks, Nick.
Bye. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.